I've seen my light come shining from the west down to the east.
Angela Alioto is a well-known political figure in San Francisco, California, and beginning at the age of 15, a secular Franciscan. Hers is an extraordinary and valuable combination. Angela conceived, and with her friends and the Knights of St. Francis, constructed an extraordinary structure, La Porciúncula, a facsimile of the original in the Basilica da San Francesco d'Assisi. What follows recounts Angela's epiphany at age 15 and the 4 productive and creative decades that were its result.
Almost everything that happened in building and creating the Porciúncula was absolutely, in my opinion, divine providence. I don't have any doubt that we, with our hands, didn't do this. Everything fell into line. Everything was right there for us to take, from the artists to the wood crafters, to the stone, to the company. The company that did it were my really good friends, Nibby Company, Nibby Brothers, and they were my supporters when I ran for mayor in 2003. So I had everything lined up from my political and my legal life. All my friends come do what was considered to be, a crazy idea that has created one of the holiest places in the world. And we all knew that it was our Lord and St. Francis guiding us and just about giving us things that would have been otherwise very difficult to get. I was going to school in Florence, Italy. I was studying art history and Dante, Dante Alighieri, La Divina Commedia. And I was there with my aunt and uncle because my father at the time was a very well-known antitrust lawyer and also head of the Democratic Party. And so he and mom couldn't come right away, so I went with my aunt and uncle. And I was loving Florence, the whole Italian, being in love with love, the extremely handsome men, the fast cars. I loved it, right? I was 15 years old. I fell in love with all of it. And my aunt and uncle came to me and said, okay, so we're going to take a train. And you have to remember, I was a total spoiled brat. I had 5 brothers. My mom and dad went to visit Pope Pius XII and asked them for a little girl. And that same year, they got me, which you can imagine, being somewhat of a tomboy. I wasn't exactly a ballerina. So it's kind of interesting that the girl that they got was beating up on her brothers. But I was very, very spoiled. I was the apple of my father's eye. And so when my aunt and uncle came to me and said, we're going to take a train to Assisi, I said, I don't think so. A, I'm not into taking trains. B, I love St. Francis. I baptized my dog. I baptized my horse. I had ceremonies at a very young age with St. Francis being there. And I thought, I don't need to travel to Assisi on a train to see Francesco, who at the time I called St. Francis, who died 800 years ago. I'm fine right here in Florence. And they said, no, you're coming with us. So I got on that famous train and I went with them to Assisi. And when we got off the train at the train station, I get a little emotional when I talk about this because when I look back on it, it's so amazing to me. It's so obvious to me. I got off the train and my aunt and uncle, he had this pipe that had such an amazing smell that when I smell other pipes, I'm right there. I'm walking up the hill to Assisi and I felt this overwhelming, very strong, hot wind, literally circling me. And it was such a realization to me that I'm about to see something or witness something or be part of something that is going to be very, very important in my life. And I have been back to Assisi since that day on August 2nd every year. And this summer was my 42nd day at the Portiuncula on August 2nd, Francesco's Day of Pardoning, since I was 15 years old. Last year, I was at exercise class. I'm going to get emotional again. I was at exercise class, and I felt the pain across my chest. And I thought, that's a very strange pain. I never had a pain like that. And I was on my way to the Vatican the next week to create the Fourth Order, meaning the Fourth Order of St. Francis that would include all religions, okay? So I went to my law firm and I asked my staff, would you call my mother's heart doctor? My assistant called my mother's heart doctor, and he made an appointment for me the very next morning, which was ridiculous because he's a very busy guy. So he was in surgery, and I got to the hospital and I told the secretary, oh, I don't need to see him, he's in surgery, leave him alone. I left 2 times, and his secretary came and got me. I mean, from that day when I was 15 years old, St. Francis of Assisi, Francesco, has been not only my best friend, but has consistently protected me. So this lady who I don't know, of course her name is Francis, at every trial I have has a major Franciscan symbol. She brought me back in, I saw the doctor, the EKG was perfect, the sonogram was perfect, the stress test. After a minute, I got that pain again. The doctor picked me up and put me on the table and said, you have to go into the operating room. I said, well, what for? I'm not going into the operating room. So eventually I had to agree, but I told him you have to call Brother Cherry, George Cherry, who's a Franciscan friar who joined, he used to be the president of Bank of America, and he now runs St. Mary's Hospital. I said, you got to call Brother George before you do anything and have him come be in the room with me. So I had this, they put the stuff in me, whatever you call it, the ink, and right next to my heart, the largest artery, it's called the Widowmaker because it kills people right away. The largest artery was totally clear, but at one point it looked like someone just clamped it. I mean, literally just clamped it. And so the doctor saw that and he said, we're gonna have to put a stent in. And I said, I don't even know what that means. But okay, put the stent in. You have to understand, the night before was the first time I ever felt this thing, right? And he said, you're very lucky because you would not have made it another 6 to 8 days. And I said, you know, come on, get serious. And he says, I'm very serious. And so laying on that operating table, I said, okay, Lord, I'm ready. You can take me. And then Francesco, to my right, I was saying, why didn't you tell me about this? What the hell? You should have given me some warning about this. I've got 4 kids and 5 grandkids. This is not funny. This is a serious, I had a real, he and I have had some marvelous conversations throughout my life, just marvelous. And so after the surgery, I did go to Italy the next week, not understanding at all what having a stent meant as far as side effects and pills. And I remember going to his tomb, which is my most sacred place, which is where I pray and write every year, a couple times a year. And I remember thinking, of all the things to pray to him, what I prayed to him about was thanking him for an amazing 40 years of a Franciscan life. And when I left, because I was there like 3 hours, for the whole 3 hours, I went over from the day that wind hit me to the day I'm there with a stent in the largest artery of my heart at 60 years old, thanking him and our Lord profusely, and Santa Chiara and Our Lady, for the amazing Franciscan life I've had. It's a whole, living in a Franciscan world is a whole different world from the rest of the world, which is why La Portiuncula Nuova gives people to know that world and get into it. There is no better world, in my opinion, than living in the world of Francesco. My life with St. Francis was very interior and very not go to Assisi and know everybody. It wasn't about that. I mean, I was a politician here. I didn't want to go to Assisi and know anybody. I wanted to go do my normal retreats. So meeting the nuns, actually, Santa Chiara nuns, amazing scholars. Those women are scholars. And meeting the friars that are just so much like Francesco. That's a different breed of friar, the OFMs. They're just, to me, very much like Francesco. Has been a very interesting experience, and it's new for me. It's just the last 5-6 years. And so to be honored by them, it was really funny because, you know, Gary, throughout the years, they were kicking me out of the Portiuncula. I got carried out of the Santa Maria Basilica so many times, you wouldn't believe it. Because I had 4 children when I was 24 years old. And I was not gonna leave the Basilica without getting a picture of my 4 babies in front of the, and you can't take pictures. So I was always being escorted out, but I always got my picture. And so for years I've been being kicked out of the Portiuncula, Santa Maria de Angeli Basilica. I mean, literally walked out. So when I went in the summer of 2006 with 16 of my friends who measured the Portiuncula, we measured it with dental floss because A, I didn't know any Franciscans, and B, I'd rather apologize after I got the job done. And so we measured it with the dental floss. And as I said, it's so providential because when Frate Massimo Rassignan, the provincial, called me into his office, it was a 3-hour meeting, and I brought my granddaughter Chiara with me because I wanted cover. You know, at the time in 2006, she would have only been 6 years old. That was a 3-hour meeting, and he asked me, who gave you the right to measure the Portiuncula? You know, our Lord and Francesco want the Portiuncula here. The Portiuncula is going to be here, and that is what it is. Our Lord wanted it. And who am I to question our Lord? And by the way, this is a torment for me. This isn't a passion where I'm having fun. This is a passion that's somewhat of a torment because the amount of obstacles are like boulders coming down the hill at you. I mean, it was like obstacle after obstacle, and then I would get this amazing providential help that made me realize this is not about human beings. This is about our Lord and Francesco wanting this here, and so I'm going to do it. The amazing thing about the dental floss measurements is once Frate Massimo gave us the rock that St. Francis used to build his capella that they got from the earthquake in '97, we also got the drawings of the Portiuncula from the archives of Santa Maria and the Vatican, and we were only 1/6 of an inch off. Of course. The Piazza's next. We're working with Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the beat poet. He's 92 years old, had a triple bypass 20 years ago, and still has lunch with me on Thursday and Fridays here in North Beach. You always see Lawrence walking around, and he still owns his very famous bookstore, the City Lights bookstore, which is a must visit for anybody coming to the city and county of San Francisco. Lawrence Ferlinghetti I've known since I was a little girl, literally, when my father was mayor of San Francisco. And when I was president of the Board of Supervisors of the city and county in San Francisco, I named a street after him. Down the hill is a street called named after Lawrence Ferlinghetti. When he heard about the Piazza, he and I both at the same time wanted to do the Piazza, so he called me and I went and had lunch with him. And he had his architects draw up the plans for the Piazza. He's a good friend. He's a Buddhist sometimes. He changes back and forth. He's fascinating because, of course, like everybody, he loves Francesco. I had to prove to Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the most famous beat poet alive, that St. Francis of Assisi was indeed one of the very first poets to write in the vernacular, though he based his writings on the 7 Sicilian poets. And being Sicilian, that makes me very proud. So working with Lawrence Ferlinghetti and a group of artists and architects, we have a beautiful Umbrian piazza that will be green and white stripes, like in Assisi and Siena and Florence. Santa Maria Novella in Florence is a great example. St. Catherine of Siena's church, the cathedral, is a great example of the green and white stripes. We will have, that will be the ground, the floor, for all of the piazza up to Columbus Avenue. And then we will have the olive trees and hopefully a statue of St. Francis before he was a saint, which makes him secular. And as either as a soldier, as a cavaliere, a knight, or as the knight. There's one particular sculpture I love by a gentleman named Norberto, who recently died, but his son is in Assisi in Venice. It's the statue of St. Francis on his horse as a cavaliere, and the horse's head is down and the horse is all decked out a la Crusades. And Francesco has his head down and the horse has his head down, and it's a mammoth. You've probably seen it. It's in front of the Upper Basilica in Assisi, on the grass out in front where the big Pax sign is. And I would love to be able to get that for the center of our piazza, because it represents a cavaliere, a knight who gave up and was coming home in disgrace and ashamed to his family in Assisi. And yet he becomes the most famous saint in the world, St. Francis of Assisi. So it's a symbol for all young people to know, look, you can fail over and over and over, but you can be St. Francis of Assisi too. Failure only means a part of life to continue. And I think St. Francis's life really shows us that, because it wasn't until his massive failure that he began to see our Lord Jesus Christ in everything he saw, whether it was the flowers, the trees, the streams, the sky, whatever it is, brother, sun, sister, moon, Francesco saw our Lord's face in it. And I think it's his failures and the war and the horror of war that made him be such a great mystic. Pardon of Assisi that Pope Honoris gave to Francesco in 1216, which means he wanted everybody in his little portiuncola because he believed the angels slept there at night. And so the phrase is, voglio tutti in paradiso, and that means everybody in paradise, which of course I love, because the Knights of St. Francis are of all religions. They're very, very special people. They guard the portiuncola, and of course 80% are Catholic, but the point is, Francisco and our Lord want everybody in heaven, so you don't give up on anybody. And that's what this represents. It's so great. The portiuncola is the first mission. So if you look at the majority of the missions, of the 21 missions throughout the state of California, you will see the similarity between the missions, the way they built them, and the portiuncola. Especially our Mission Dolores is almost identical to the portiuncola. So certainly we will be celebrating the 300-year feast of Junipero Serra. Mission Dolores is so very wonderful. Just recently they discovered, by recently I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, they discovered an amazing Native American mural behind the amazing altar. And so a young kid, a photographer, went down through, it's something like 6 inches, and he photographed the entire mural. And then they drew it and put it on the ceiling of the upper church of Mission Dolores. And then we got together a group of people, and down in the mission there is a copy of it, a mural was done of the secret Native American painting. It's 2 hearts crossing each other with big arrows going through it, very much like La Madonna Dolorosa. Very cool. So there's so many secrets and fun things to see at Mission Dolores. You can feel the early fathers there. It's just fascinating, and the cemetery is fascinating. Look at the dates on it and what people went through in order to come and discover the West and Christianize it. I was the chair of the health committee, and I've been in charge of homelessness now for 20 years. It's almost impossible not to admire and try to emulate the OFM friars at St. Boniface with the St. Anthony's kitchen. When I was a little girl, my dad was mayor, and I remember Father Bodecker very, very well. Father Bodecker was the rector there, and he believed a statue told him, much like the San Damiano cross talking to Francesco, told him to go feed the poor. Today, his St. Anthony's dining room feeds 3,000 people every day at 12 o'clock. Then there's Father Louis Vitale, who is a distant cousin of Sicilian fishermen, just like my family and the new Archbishop Corleone. Father Louis Vitale is our hero. He's in jail a lot. He's in federal prison a lot because he's protesting war and nuclear arms and bombs and drone planes. But when he isn't in jail or prison, he has started something called the Gubbio Project. And it's a beautiful article in the newspaper called Sacred Sleep. So if you go to St. Boniface before 2 o'clock, you will see every pew is filled with people who are homeless who sleep during the day. It's not an alternative to housing. It's not an alternative to homelessness, but it does fill a void that just simply can't be covered entirely by the city and county of San Francisco. And there's a religious, spiritual aspect to the Gubbio Project that is so important. I really believe a lot of conversion goes on with that project, so that's absolutely worth visiting. And of course, I did all of the major legislation in the early 90s and late 80s. I was elected in November of 88. So in 89, the AIDS HIV epidemic was huge and not truly understood. So for the next 6 years, I did all of the legislation for the HIV, the federal drug, the ADAP list to get particular drugs on the list so people could get it. We had 1,000 young people dying a week in the city and county of San Francisco. It was an absolute crisis. The legislation we did, the health legislation we did for that epidemic and for the sick and the poor generally, I believe come from my Franciscan roots. Well, I've been doing it for 25 years now, since 1985, which is more than 25 years, 27 years. I'm getting old. But I was in office from January of 1989 to January of 1997. 2 of those years I was president of the Board of Supervisors, elected by the largest vote in the city and county of San Francisco, which is why it was so much easier getting some serious legislation done. I banned smoking in all restaurants and in all workplaces. It was the first ban in the world. We have 27 pieces of legislation to stop the tobacco industry from luring in 6- and 7-year-old kids with Joe Camel or Snoopy, for that matter, whoever they used. And then we did the amazing epidemic legislations that allowed for hospices and clinics and also alternative medicines. I made it paid by the city if you use Chinese alternative medicines or any kind of alternative medicine, if it helps you out. And that was a big breakthrough. Great stuff. And I had an amazing team. And you know, your team is what it's all about. The Fourth Order is a document that we gave to Cardinal Levada last April. The famous week I went to Rome with my new stint, not understanding at all that maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I did it. And Cardinal Levada met with me, and we gave him the documents, and then we met with Father Michael Perry, amazing man, the vicar of the Curia of the OFMs in Rome, explaining the Fourth Order, meaning that you can be Franciscan and not, well, meaning you can be interfaith Franciscan. The fourth order basically is what the Knights of St. Francis are right now. We just had a young lady join 2 weeks ago. She's Muslim, and she is from Africa, and she just adopted 3 kids. And she's an amazing human being, and she wanted to be a Knight of St. Francis, so she filled the application out, and she now guards the Porziuncola Nuova, and it's wonderful. So the fourth order is about letting people be Franciscan and be of different religions, and to go in the line of Cardinal Ravasi with his Cortile di Gentile, to also have non-believers. I'm of the opinion, once you get to know Francesco, he's just too charming. You can't not love him. And you can't love St. Francis of Assisi without loving Jesus Christ. Because St. Francis of Assisi is all about his love for Jesus Christ. It's that easy. So I'm not saying that the fourth order is about conversion. I'm just saying everybody's welcomed, as long as they obviously, fill out the application. We know who they are and all that. And everybody has to learn the life of St. Francis of Assisi and Santa Chiara. And then they take it from there. Now, we have had a few conversions, and that's wonderful. But what we're about is letting everybody in this front door to learn about St. Francis, which is indirectly, and then becomes directly, learning about our Lord Jesus Christ. In the 1990s, the St. Francis Church was closed. It was in danger of being sold. The church, Archbishop Quinn in the 1990s sold, I believe it was 15 churches, and 11 more were on the block. One of them was St. Francis. So when the conventual friars said they had no mission at the National Shrine, and so they left, I went to Cardinal Levada. I said, please, don't sell the church, don't sell the rectory, don't sell the gymnasium. Let's do this project. He understands the importance of Franciscan compassion and love, and the way St. Francis adored Jesus through the creatures. He understands that means something in San Francisco. So he said, go ahead and do the project. It was with him, my father, a guy named Mike D'Annunzio, and the Italian Consul General. We had dinner at the North Beach restaurant in early 1997, and then we walked through the closed church. The dust was 2 inches thick. It was a stunning thing to see. And after that dinner, Archbishop Levada decided to make it a national shrine. And so I wrote up the bylaws. The Archbishop in charge of national shrines in St. Louis did all the documents to make it a national shrine, and we opened in February 28th of 1998. So we had the gymnasium was going to be the Porziuncola. The upper church was going to be done inside and out, retrofitted, which is retrofit alone was $2 million. And then the rectory was going to be a school of international thought based on Franciscan principles. So it would be an educational place where scholars would receive requests of political issues and base their answers on Franciscan thought. And then the piazza out in front was the fourth part of what we call the Renaissance Project. What we've done so far, of course, the Porziuncola was finished in September of 2008. And then we did the outside of the church. The Archdiocese did the outside of the church and put on a new roof. And we have a new heater. But the interior of the upper church has not been done yet. Then we have the rectory. The rectory was redone for living purposes of Monsignor Tarantino. But the good news on that part of the rectory is that at least the insides have been redone and retrofitted. And of course, this is his baby. This is Cardinal William Levada's baby. This is his national shrine. in what he calls Assisi by the Bay. And it was very clear that I'd never thought about who's going to take care of the Porziuncola once it's done. Who's going to do all the tours all day long? Who's going to talk to the literally thousands of people a week that we see? Who's going to talk to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders and the graduate school medieval studies classes? Who's going to talk to all these people and explain the life of St. Francis and Santa Chiara, St. Anthony, Padre Pio, the San Damiano cross, all of the Franciscan symbols that mean so much to all of us and to Francesco. And then we were given wonderful Father Bob Cipriano, whose funeral we literally had last month. Father Bob Cipriano, though he's not Franciscan, was one of the best things that happened to the National Shrine of St. Francis. So I sat down with Father Bob, Deacon Chris Sandoval, and I created a document. We sent it to Assisi to become an arch-confraternity with the friars, the OFM friars at the Porziuncola at Santa Maria de' Angeli, and pursuant to a law written by the Pope in the 1600s, Santa Maria de' Angeli has the enabling ability to create arch-confraternities, though they'd never done it. So I asked the provincial minister and the curia in Rome, if they would make us an arch-confraternity. They agreed. I sent it to the Bishop of Assisi, to Cardinal Levada, of course, and to Archbishop Niederauer, and Father Bob Cipriano signed it on June 29th of 2008. We were originally about 22 people. Today we're about 290. We have many classes from universities like St. Mary's College and Stanford, graduate studies in medieval studies. Classes come into the Porziuncola and I give them a tour. We have about 8 to 10 big tours a month. We have elementary school weekly. St. Stephen's was there last Friday. Those little kids in 3rd grade had memorized our DVD. And I've never heard children totally be able to repeat this entire DVD. It was amazing. And the first question that one of the kids asked was, Ms. Alioto, isn't it true that really and truly Jesus planned this whole Porziuncola? He said, that's what you said in your DVD. I go, that is so true. He plotted it all out, he planned it, and it happened. There are 68 knights that guard the Porziuncola specifically. Then there are knights that put on the gala. Then there are knights that do our IT work. And there are knights that we have about 7 different sections of knights that when you put them all together comes to about 290 something or 280 something. This is the Renaissance Project. And this was done by the Archdiocese, okay? And you'll see the 4 projects. The Porziuncola, the upper church, the piazza, the interior of the upper church. And this was the Archdiocese at the time. And so under the programs, an international spiritual center that expresses Franciscan prayer and thought. That's how they put what I was saying was a center of scholars. Because Gary, if you look at the presidential elections in the United States of America, and if you look at the gubernatorial elections and the senatorial, federal senator elections, they're all Franciscan issues. Healthcare, war and peace, right? The environment, under healthcare, of course, is taking care of the sick and the poor. The environment, and the only one that is even minimized, that is more minimized than others would be St. Francis's love of creatures, animals. So out of his 4 to 5 basic tenets, his being St. Francis, 4 of them are constantly on the political agenda for all elections, right up to the President of the United States. And so the concept of the scholarly school, I think, is something that is really needed in today's society. Oh, and don't forget homelessness under the healthcare of the sick and the poor. And that's a huge issue in all major cities. I've been working with homelessness for 25 years. Our San Francisco 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness, to abolish chronic homelessness, has been so successful that it's been adopted in 49 other states. But you have to be diligent. You have to make sure it's enforced. And the legislation that we did that came from the 10-year plan has really helped other cities house the chronically homeless, those that have been on the street 4 to 6 years. It's a huge issue that doesn't get talked about in presidential campaigns very much, in gubernatorial campaigns. Mikhail Gorbachev visits St. Francis's tomb every year. And I've been there many times when he's been there. And the interesting thing to me, I absolutely believe he's Franciscan. Along with, as I was telling you, the singer Patti Smith, who would think that she would be on a pilgrimage to Francesco's tomb for so many days, and it'd be international news too. The Knights of St. Francis are about 280 people now. The interesting thing about us is that we're of different religions. We have Muslims, we have Jews, we have Buddhists, and we have atheists who are guarding St. Francis's little church. And as I was saying yesterday, the concept is to bring everybody in, which is why I went to the Vatican to attempt to create the Fourth Order Franciscan, which would be the Gorbachevs of this world. It wasn't only Gorbachev. Do you remember Saddam Hussein's right hand, Aziz? Aziz is he visited on a regular basis St. Francis's tomb. Are these people Franciscan? The world loves St. Francis, and I think that they see. Lenin loved St. Francis. When he died, he said, all the world needs is 1,000 St. Francis's, or 10, whatever, I don't know the exact number. But his concept was the compassion and love of a St. Francis. Though I don't know that I would ever equate it to Lenin's political philosophies, the concept of more St. Francis's is absolutely true. So are all these people who are not Roman Catholic, are they Franciscan? I think they are. I don't think you can love St. Francis and not love Jesus Christ. I just don't think you can. If you really know St. Francis, if you're really praying in front of his tomb, and you really love St. Francis, then I believe you have to love Jesus Christ. We just had a young Muslim girl join last week who was just, salt of the earth, just so wonderful. But they all give tours. Of course, they can't be as extensive as what I do because I lived it. And we climbed up those mountains and we got those rocks and we put them in the trucks and had the builders tell me that the trucks were, had sparks coming out of the sides and they were afraid of blowing up. And I kept telling them, oh, ye of little faith. And all those little experiences. Black crows. We have been followed consistently, no matter what city we're in, on this adventure of building the Piazza Nuova by black crows. I kept telling this crew of builders who went back with me the summer of 2007 after the group that was with me in 2006, we'd measured everything. I kept telling them, I promise you, we are going to see a minimum of 2 black crows every time we do anything that has to do with actually building the Piazza. So Monty, the guy who was from Western Contracting, he's the contractor for the rocks. He kept saying, Angela, come on, will you please? Total, right? Non-belief. And so we'd be doing something like measuring the Portiuncle and go out to have a lunch or something. And I'd go, oh, check out those 2 black crows sitting on the chair of the restaurant we're going to. Oh, check out the 2 black crows over there. So finally, he said, this is ridiculous. There are always crows here. I said, you ask any friar here. if there are always crows at Santa Maria degli Angeli. And they will tell you there are never crows. Ditto the tomb, okay, up at the convent. So we go to my little capella in Trevi, where we were unloading about 100 rocks. We're walking down the staircase, and it's about 100 steps to my little capella, right? Which is an absolute gift from God, that little capella of mine. And out of nowhere, I kid you not, a flock of about 100, 150 black crows literally descend on us while we're carrying what I consider to be sacred rocks. Monty will never be the same. He was ducking, he was freaked out, he was everything. And the minute we stopped loading those sacred rocks, the crows, who were very low, very close to us, who were circling us, left. So if I don't see 2 crows and a falcon every day, I worry. I see 2 crows and a falcon every day now. A falcon in San Francisco. And it started in May of 2007 when we did the first demolition for the Porzione Club. But of course, you know the story of the falcon waking Francesco up to pray at La Verna. Sister Falcon. Sister Falcon would wake him up. And he'd say, you know, let me sleep alone, I'll wake up. And he would say his morning prayers with Sister Falcon.
The Knights of San Francisco have produced a lovely video on their website.
Sogno soltanto dolci vestiti in aria mare e voglio io dormire invece di marciare. Mi vento al cappello, lascio respirare, gioia e vento solare. Assisi aspetta già, marcia dai, guarda, marcia danza e sempre alle sorgenti andiamo. Aspetta già,